Like I said, prices are going to continue to rise. People ask me all the time, should I wait? You should have bought yesterday. If you can afford it, buy today. I don't care what it is, just buy something.
Yeah.
What do they say? Marry the home, date the rate. Like, just get into the house, and we could take care of the money later.
Yeah.
Taking the insurance rates into account when you're looking at your purchasing power.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a deterrent for you.
Yeah.
You just have to come to the reality that maybe the $1 million house is not the one you should be looking at. You really should be looking at something around $700,000 to make sure that you're going to be able to afford the insurance.
Yeah.
You got to do it. It's a necessary evil, but would I not move to the state of Florida because my insurance rates are high?
Yeah.
No, because I'm not paying income tax, so it kind of offsets that a little bit. But
will the quality of life drastically change? Probably not.
Well, it drastically changes when you come down here.
Right. Welcome everybody to What Would It Cost Florida with your host Niels Decker and our special guest Chris. We have some awesome things to talk about. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about the association he's involved with and that he's the president of, and some other more fun stuff. And I can't wait to have this podcast. I've been looking forward to this. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on here. I'm excited to have this chat with you. We had a lunch not too long ago, but it's exciting to talk to you, and you're up to so many things, so it's going to be an awesome one today.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, beauty. And let's start. Where did Chris come from? How did it all get going? Some of your roots. Dive in. Let's go.
So originally, I'm from Buffalo, New York. I don't know if we even discussed that at lunch, but originally from Buffalo, go Bills.
I saw the license plate. Yeah.
But I ended up in Toronto, Canada for 17 years. Met my husband there. We had a restaurant and bar called Labyrinth Lounge and Future Bakery right by University of Toronto.
Cool.
So I know Canada very well.
Yeah.
I finally don't say A, and I don't apologize as much as I used to. But that's basically where I've come from. Buffalo through Toronto, ended up here in South Florida. I've been down here for just over 10 years now. Got my start in real estate back at Royal LePage up at Yonge and St. Clair, and ended up moving out to King West, then out to Etobicoke later on, and that whole real estate career actually stemmed from working in the bar, the restaurant, and I dabbled in film and TV. I shouldn't say dabbled; it was a full-time career for me for a number of years. But it seemed like everybody around me was now becoming that age where they were all buying homes. So I'm like, wait a minute. I know everybody. They all know and trust me. I might as well go and get my real estate license. Not realizing it was going to take almost 2 years to get a real estate license in Toronto. Down here in Florida, it takes a week. Which I sometimes think about and go, God, I wish these people went to school for a lot longer so that we'd have a bit more professionalism down in Florida. But it certainly is. It's been a wild ride so far. But just that's me. Kid from Buffalo. Lived in Canada for a while. And kid from Buffalo. That's weird to say, but I think we all just feel like kids like our whole lives, right? Yeah. We just start looking older. Yeah,
and it's awesome because that you carry that through on how you are as a personality, which is awesome, and I think naturally will contribute to what you've now created, and as well some of the roles that you're taking on. You're the president of Our World, and let's talk a bit about that.
Our World is our pet name. It's Broward, Palm Beaches, and St. Lucie Realtors is the full gamut. We ended up having a couple of mergers over the years since I've been involved, and that led us to having this massive association. We're actually the third largest local real estate association in the country. So we've got 42,000 members, and we also have Beaches MLS, which is owned by the association. So I'm the president of that whole conglomerate, which is really cool.
How the heck did that happen?
I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. No, it was just a natural progression. You're voluntold to go and do something. I had we could use your help. Will you join this committee? And it was like, no problem. When I first moved here down to South Florida, I had seen that the MLS didn't work as efficiently as it did back in Toronto. So I wanted to make some changes, and people said, hey, you've got some really good ideas. You should jump on the MLS committee. And fast forward, 8-10 years, and I had gone through so many different committees and chaired different things, and just went through that whole leadership gamut. And somebody had said, you need to apply for the executive committee. So I ended up being the treasurer 1 year and then president-elect, and now here I am in 2023 being the president of a massive association.
It's amazing. What were some of the biggest things that you saw as that growth, or some of the gaps that you end up filling?
A lot of policy changes throughout that time. I ended up finding myself really involved in the political realm of, shouldn't say association politics, really the political realm of basically how all these municipalities are being run. I started getting involved with the Government Affairs Committee, the Realtors Political Action Committee, and that really struck a chord with me. So that became something that I started getting passionate about. And just being able to interact with the people who are making real policy decisions that are changing our lives every single day throughout South Florida was pretty eye-opening. And I had seen the way that we can change policy and change a directive or narrative within the association, but then to see it on a grander scale and end up being really in the thick of things with how not only the city that I live in is being run, the city where I do business, the county itself, and then up to state and national as well. I mean, just last week I was talking to Marco Rubio, who's one of our Florida senators, national senators, and speaking with him about insurance reform and what really needs to change in order for us to continue having thriving communities and help with homeownership and affordability here in South Florida, which is, I mean, we've seen it in Toronto for years and years and years, how unaffordable things are just because there were so many people that were jumping into the city. I watched prices go from, back in the day, 300 and something bucks a square foot up to, by the time I left Toronto, $1,000 a square foot. And we thought it was crazy because Vancouver was at $1,100 back when we were, in Toronto, it was only $500 a square foot. So it's wild to see the change that you can have and how you could really affect people's lives when you just get involved and make your voice heard. So
it's huge, and to make that positive impact, starting at the smaller scale, to see then follow through. What I'm hearing, how awesome that is to be part of that, and that's also long hours and extra work, extra rolling up the sleeve. So, but
crazy.
It's like an amazing reward. So
it is an amazing reward. It's a lot of time away from the office. But thankfully, I've got an incredible team behind me. I've got great business partners, great staff, and then a hell of a lot of agents that are just at the top of their game. So they're always there to cover me whenever I need something. Yeah,
that's awesome. And I love that piece about the insurance. Let's talk a bit about that, because sometimes I hear different things, but what does it all look like, and having that history, seeing how it evolved as well. Conversations about some companies don't want to touch certain areas, flood zones or not flood zone, by the water or not, price points, like everything's kind of flying around. Hurricanes in this period, and then things changed, things being done by smaller companies and then larger companies, and who wanted to touch water or not. Like, it's been the whole thing. So I would love to hear more about that. Yeah, we've had the most recent hurricane that we had on the West Coast was terrible. It was Hurricane Ian was absolutely horrific. When I was watching the video, watching TV and seeing what had happened, when the people started getting drones up in the air, and you see where I've spent so many days when I was a kid, took my husband down to see Fort Myers Beach, and jump up on the second floor. I forgot what the name of the bar was, but they've got this great rooftop terrace where everybody goes up to watch the sunrise, and the band's playing. It's just incredible. And then to see drone footage and notice that all of that was completely wiped off the map was amazing. But what we found was that we had major insurers that they had gone insolvent. They just could not. The claims were too high for the books that they were carrying. They just could not pay out. So some were taken over by larger companies. Some were just completely left the state or the insurance game altogether. What we have in the state of Florida is citizens insurance. So that's supposed to be the insurer of last resort for Floridians. It's basically a state-run entity. So
nobody in the state of Florida wants more people under the Citizens umbrella insurance policy. It's not good for the state finances. If something, catastrophic were to ever happen, it would be a big blow to the state. We like not having state income tax and things like that. So we don't want to see like major financial changes. But certainly something's got to be done. You have to be able to get insurance in order to get a mortgage. And even people who pay cash, they just don't feel. A lot of people self-insure. If you've got the cash to do so, people do that when they pay cash for a home. But you do have a lot of people who pay cash and say, hey, I'm making this huge investment down here in the state of Florida. I want to make sure that my investment's protected. I want to have insurance. And when they go and start shopping for insurance, you just find that the rates have basically tripled over the last few years. And it wasn't just because of Ian. We had Hurricane Irma that was a few years back. That wasn't as bad as what we're seeing as far as like damage was concerned with Hurricane Ian. I mean, Hurricane Irma was terrible as well, especially for Southwest Florida. But we did find that a lot of insurers have pulled back. And going up to Tallahassee and talking to the senators and representatives there about what sort of legislation or policy could be put into place in order to address insurance, nobody has the answer. And you've got some bright people up there. It just can't be done within the state of Florida is what we're hearing and what they're finding out. It really has to be something that's done on a national scale. So that way we can get the ideas that I've heard is having like a national reinsurance pool. So that way, if you've got a catastrophe in California, they'd be able to pull from a national pool of money in order to keep those insurers going in business, because they're going to create competition within the market, bring the rates down. And right now what we have is a handful of insurance companies that are still in the game here, especially in South Florida. But then you've got everybody else that's being pulled into the Citizens pool of insured people, and that's just not the way to go. It's not solving anything. You see Citizens rates going up higher as well. So I would say when it comes to basically the cost of home ownership in Florida, your insurance is something that you definitely need to take a deep dive into, because if you're not able to find insurance that is going to work with the numbers when you're trying to get a mortgage, that's going to knock you out of contention for a lot of properties. Prices aren't getting any cheaper. So we've got people who are trying to get into what used to be a $300,000 house is now $650,000, and they're saying, okay, well, I can afford the mortgage payment. Wait till you see what the insurance is going to look like. Totally different story.
And then we have that conversation often now. Let's have that. Let's unravel those numbers so that it's not that conversation at the end when you're getting there. So definitely something to consider. And on a more positive, I mean, it's definitely more heavy news, but it's definitely something to be talked about, and also what's being done about it, and considering something, the conversation that you're having, it's really interesting to hear what's going on about that and going on with that, and to see how that's developing. So that's awesome to dive into that. And
I think it's just a matter of people, taking the insurance rates into account when you're looking at your purchasing power. It shouldn't be a deterrent for you. You just have to come to the reality that maybe the $1 million house is not the one you should be looking at. You really should be looking at something around $700,000 to make sure that you're going to be able to afford the insurance. You got to do it. It's a necessary evil, but would I not move to the state of Florida because my insurance rates are high? No, because I'm not paying income tax, so it kind of offsets that a little bit. But
will the quality of life drastically change? Probably not.
Well, it drastically changes when you come down here.
But for not being down here, right? So that's the big one. And then I always have the conversation: is a 10-minute drive that bad if you're not right on the water, or if you're a little bit out?
Not.
So those price changes, we've seen a difference too, if you have your house on the waterfront or if you don't, and if you're out of a different zone that's just right behind it, that just a little longer walk. So it's all what lens you're looking through as well.
Exactly. If you wanted to go 2 miles down in Toronto or Miami, it's going to take you a half an hour to get 2 miles across town. Down here in Broward County, for example, I mean, I had to go out to Weston today. Probably 20-mile drive, took me 15 minutes. So it's really not that bad. I would definitely say, everybody when they first come down to Florida, they want to be on the water, they want to be close to the beach, whatever the case may be. Find the house that you want, because everything down here is so close.
No, agreed. And The other piece that I love that you're bringing in is that, spending that extra hour and that extra distance that you went to look at what can be changed in certain communities and how that then took its own life into the actual county and then on state level. I love talking also about the piece, how can we continue to, as stewards of our industries, to talk to people about what does it look like to have your hard-earned money work, and how can financial literacy and growth, generational wealth really take its own and play our role in that.
Well, generational wealth is the name of the game.
Yeah.
And it all starts with real estate. I truly believe that real estate is literally the center of anybody who is, it should be the focal point. If you are trying to build wealth for yourself, build wealth for your family, you absolutely need to be investing in real estate. If you look at the last 100 years, have you ever seen a point where real estate took a dive and kept going down? It never happens. It's cyclical. You'll go up 10 points, you'll come down 5, you go up 20, you come down 10. It's always on an upwards trajectory.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense to not have some piece of real estate in your investment portfolio, if not quite a few pieces of real estate in your investment portfolio. The wealthiest people that I've worked with as clients, every one of them has had substantial amounts of real estate in their portfolio. Yeah. And you put tenants in those properties. I'm not necessarily saying that you should have second homes all over the world. Yeah. Obviously, that you're going to bleed money that way. Unless you're running them as Airbnbs or something. But certainly, if you can get your hands on a property that's got the right ROI, put a tenant in there. When we had the crash back in 2008, we had so many builders that left the game, and they did not come back online. They went completely bankrupt, or they moved on to other things, got a different job because nobody was building. We had way too much inventory. But now the exact opposite is true. We have zero inventory and there's no builders around. And that was basically a generation ago. Yeah. So if your father was the builder, you maybe didn't follow in his footsteps. Yeah. So we actually have this lack of knowledgeable builders, a lack of people who know how to get investors to jump into the game with them so that they can start building some inventory. So I think it's going to take many, many years before we see that we have enough inventory back online for the amount of people who are now going to be buying properties. If you think about the millennial generation right now, they're making up over 40% of the real estate market. Yeah. And I don't know where they're getting the money to buy the real estate, but because I didn't have it. Yeah. When I was their age, they gotta figure it out. But I see them out there struggling, trying to buy something. They've got great credit, great jobs. They can work from anywhere. They're coming to Florida in droves. They've got the money. We can't find them a property. Yeah. So I think if you can get your hands on some real estate, the rental market is insane, and I think it's going to be like that for quite some time, because you're going to have primary home buyers who are going to be in the market looking to buy something for themselves, not necessarily investors that are looking to buy a place and rent. Yeah. So now you've got all these millennials that are trying to jump into the game and they can't, so they end up being turned into renters. And if you're looking at, I've got a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home in a transitioning neighborhood that's $3,500 a month. Yeah. I mean, the rental amounts are just crazy. So if you want to start building wealth for yourself, find yourself a property, throw a couple of bucks into it, make it livable, or to buy something that's drop dead gorgeous if you want. Choice is yours. Just make sure that you can get the rent for it. But the ROI on investment real estate right now is looking really, really nice. Yeah,
and when we're talking about lack of inventory as well, considering that our world is covering those major counties from Broward to Palm to St. Lucie. Yeah. What does that all look like in the landscape of what's still available? Often I hear the Everglades kind of the stop. So what's going to be left, and what have you seen on the landscape on that front?
The land is all gone. Yeah. So what we're looking at now is people purchasing older properties, basically tearing them down and putting up something new. We've had some help from the state in regards to workforce housing, affordable housing, that now say that we can basically build where you need to build. And as far as zoning restrictions saying, no, sorry, that's a commercial area, you can't put any housing there, the state has said, yes, you can. If there's an area within, a few miles of whatever that land is that's zoned residential and they're allowing you to go up to 8 stories, then you most definitely can put 8 stories worth of residential on that land. There's some caveats to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, portion of it's got to be available for workforce housing. Yeah. It's got to be at a certain price point, and it has to stay that way for a number of years in order for them to be able to build that building. But as far as inventory coming on the market, we had, obviously in a balanced market, you're looking at about 6 months of inventory.
Yeah.
Right now, so end of last year, we were at about a month's worth of inventory. We're now just starting to creep up a little bit. Yeah. So we were at most recently about 2.5 months, not even. Yeah. But it depends on which area you're looking at. But that's certainly still a heavily weighted seller's market. Yeah. The market is nowhere near balanced. The inventory is still very, very low. And another issue that we found as far as inventory is concerned, we had so many people who locked into those artificially low rates during COVID.
I don't want to sell.
2%, 2.5%. Like, why in the world are you going to sell that property?
Yeah.
If you can, you're going to hold on to it and you're going to rent it. So that property is not going back into the pool of available housing for people who are looking to purchase. So prices continue to rise. Yeah. The inventory is going up very slightly, but still we don't have the builders that are able to put new product out there on the market. And everybody wants to live here. Right before the pandemic, we had 900 people a day moving to the state of Florida. Last numbers that I heard a couple of months ago, that number's now at 1,053 people a day, per day, moving to the state of Florida. Yeah. And 50% of those people are coming down here to South Florida, Southeast Florida specifically.
Southeast side, specifically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the brakes haven't been put on at all.
No.
Still full gas ahead.
Yep. Yeah, the market's still very hot. Like I said, prices are going to continue to rise. People ask me all the time, should I wait? Like, you should have bought yesterday. Yeah. So, like, if you can afford it, buy today. I don't care what it is, just buy something. Yeah. Because you have to get into the market.
Foot through the door. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I definitely say, and if rates come down in the future, refi, get in there and do it yesterday, like you said. I totally agree. Yeah, it's very cool.
Refi is the name of the game. Get in there now and do what you can. You have to fall in love with the home. What do they say? Marry the home, date the rate. Just get into the house, and we could take care of the money later. Yeah. Just get it. Cool. It's hard enough to get something under contract.
Yeah.
We just had somebody yesterday. I was having a conversation with a guy. He had to make an offer, full price, 1-day inspection, 21-day financing, and put all of the money in escrow, the entire purchase price in escrow, in order for the offer to be accepted.
Yeah.
Is that the point that we've got to? It's crazy.
Yeah, aggressive.
And that's a bit of an anomaly, but
yeah, I can get aggressive out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
For the right home.
Yeah, very cool. And as well for you and your team, I think you were saying up and around 60 people that you have the team going. And, for those listening as well on entrepreneurship and that are on a journey or that have been on a journey, what is something that you could share with the listeners on that as well?
On a journey to...
entrepreneurship and growth and having that team.
Be ready for the roller coaster ride, but definitely bite the bullet. It's the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
I knew that I always wanted to be a real estate broker. I had a vision of exactly what I wanted. That piece there
is so interesting because some people, we talk about this, and I've heard this before. It's like that would you say is then tied to an awareness of like, I knew that was my strength and it was my position. Would you say?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that I was passionate about. Once I started my real estate career, I had a really fantastic broker.
Yeah.
Absolute gem of a human.
Yeah.
And she taught me so much, and I always looked at her with these like wide eyes, trying to take in as much information as I possibly could. Diane Usher was her name. And then after her, I had Trish Manning, who was absolutely fantastic as well. And just watching what they did, how they helped me, how they were helping everybody else become successful. And like, once I wrapped my head around everything that I needed to know or everything that I thought I needed to know in real estate, I couldn't wait to go and open up my own place and share as much of that information as I could with other people, because she made me, very successful.
Yeah.
People thought I was crazy when I was leaving Toronto,
yeah.
Because I just had a really good book of business.
Yeah.
And I came down here and just said, I'm just going to do exactly what these ladies did for me, and I'm going to do it for other people, and make as much. You know, if you surround yourself with successful people, it just breeds more success. So I wanted to make sure that everybody that was around me was doing better than I ever could have done, because there's always going to be somebody who's smarter than you in the room. So let's take those people, train them to do what I know how to do, and send them off, and let's see what happens and where it goes.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome to hear that. And now, you know, what would you say would be one of the main drivers, as it's maybe a bit of a buzzword, but your company culture and things that really have you hum and continue to have the growth that you have?
So we have a really cool office, Remax Experience, right on Wilton Drive in Wilton Manors, which is a small island city here in Broward County. Those agents that I have in that office, every single one of them was handpicked. We don't recruit, cold call people, try to get them to come in. These were all people that we knew in the industry. We knew that they were ethical, super humble, and every single one of them had some sort of a tie to the community. So there's not a person in my office that doesn't have a charity in their back pocket that they're constantly promoting, supporting, you know, anything that they could possibly do in order to make the communities that they serve better. Every one of my agents has a piece in something like that. So when you want to talk about company culture, we could very easily strike up a conversation about a charity in the office, and everybody starts talking about, oh, well, we did this as a fundraiser, and we were able to do this, and this made money, and this is how it helped these people. And, you know, whether it be something like the Peanut Butter and Jelly Club, which one of my agents is always involved with, which is, you know, giving haircuts and dental checkups and backpacks full of school supplies to like the underprivileged kids who are going back to school. Then we have another one called the Pet Project that one of my guys, Mike, runs with his partner, Sue. They go and make sure that if you happen to fall ill, or have, you know, something going on that you can't walk your dog, can't afford to feed your dog, you're at the end of your life, maybe you're in hospice care or something like that, they've got a team of people that will go anywhere that they need to go in order to make sure that like your dog is walked and fed and bathed, and that way you can like live your last years with your, you know, faithful companion by your side kind of thing. So really cool charities. And I think when you've got all these people under one roof and they all have the same mindset, it just works. Everybody rises. So it's fantastic. And you talk about company culture. I mean, I'll have a party in my backyard. The whole office is invited. My business partner does the exact same thing. He's got a nice place on the water. But he'll take some of our agents down to, he's got a place down in Grand Cayman. So like everybody
I think
in that office is friends.
I think your first event actually set the bar maybe too high. You were saying that your Christmas get-together. Yeah,
we had a fantastic Christmas get-together, holiday party. And that one was so epic that every year we keep trying to find a way to make the next one better and better.
I love it.
So the last one that we just had back this past holiday season, we ended up getting the whole rooftop at the Easton, a place called the Easton, which is rooftop over at one of the hotels here in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So like massive pool, indoor and outdoor bars, DJs, like it was just off the chain.
It's so awesome.
I don't know what we're actually now already planning for the holiday party this year. Because we've got to get like the venue booked, we've got to find the talent, we got to know you're gonna get an invite. Don't worry.
Okay, amazing. But I was just gonna say we understand that level with having some backgrounds with events, and we actually have our own event coordinator now full time at head office. So we understand that role is a big one. So very cool. That's awesome. And I was going to tie in as well what would it cost, and naturally we can talk about what would it cost for properties, but maybe we can talk about what would it cost for
a Christmas party, $25,000.
There you go. You can talk about that. Your Christmas party, $25,000. Talk about the brokerage. I was thinking about that, but Christmas parties can add up. We understand as well for our events that it takes I think sometimes as attendees, sometimes you think, this is kind of normal, but it takes some dough to get it all going too.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, very cool. And where can people find you online?
Well, if you're a realtor, you can go to loveyourbrokers.com.
Yeah.
If you are a customer, you can go to experiencefortlauderdale.com.
Yeah.
And you'll see my whole roster of agents there. Literally throw a dart and you're going to have the best agent you've ever worked with.
Cool.
They've done something in the community that you're about to buy into to make it better. They're all great people, but Remax Experience right in Wilton Manors.
Cool.
1103 Northeast 26th Street.
Yeah, I
or
love
they
it.
could just shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that they get in contact with somebody.
Awesome. And as well, I want to put spotlight on the podcast that you guys been doing, and part of the brokerage and the association. Sorry.
Yep.
So I would love.
Yeah. So
to
we've got a really
that
cool,
as well.
really cool podcast called Our World Talk.
Yeah.
We have a video library that's hosted online. It's also on Roku TV. Our World Talk can be found on any podcast platform, same as yours.
Yeah.
But that one is really geared towards realtors.
Yeah.
What's happening down here in South Florida? What's happening? We also talk about what's happening across the country. We get into a little bit of politics. We get into a little bit of how to keep yourself out of hot water and legal troubles and things like that for working realtors down here.
Which I love. By the way, I was at one of your lunches that you invited me to, and that talk with the lawyers and talking about condo reserves, talking about certain things to make sure they've done their due diligence with their clients, not do the work for them, but have them make sure they're aware and have them aware to the choices that they make sure that they make. If they make them is another story.
Right, exactly.
But I thought that was awesome too.
Yeah, you
really
can lead
cool.
a horse to water.
And
I tell you all the time, so many times we have meetings, and I'm like, this is what you do, and this is what you don't do, and then 3 days later the phone's ringing, and it's like, hey, you're never gonna guess what I just did. I'm like, why would you do that? But it's just human nature. I mean, you could tell somebody something 50 million times, but until they fail themselves, I think it doesn't really sink in until you have to work through it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
But we've got another one of those luncheons that's coming up next week.
Cool.
That one's going to be on the luxury market here in South Florida, which is massive. I mean, our luxury market is it's incredible.
Yeah.
I'll take you out on the boat. We'll take a quick cruise down the intercoastal. You won't see a house that's less than $15 million.
Yeah, I think the prices go, well, it's like kind of your 10 million zone, and as you go further down, it cuts to almost like your 30 plus type of properties. Yeah,
I went from my backyard to J-Lo's backyard one afternoon. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I can't imagine what she paid for that property. But.
Yeah, she's sitting sipping.
No, J-Lo, I wasn't looking through your windows.
In case you're watching,
In case you're watching.
Yeah, that's awesome. So cool, man. Thank you for being on today, and
thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. I look forward to many other encounters and the awesome value added that you bring, and all stemming from your curiosity to also be better as a person, as a realtor, as a company, as an association. So on behalf of other people that have the appreciation as well, we appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And listeners, thank you for listening in on What Would It Cost Florida. Until the next one.